She stood in the kitchen with a knife in her hand, not to chop vegetables, but to decide whether to sever the umbilical cord binding her to her family forever. Behind the wall, Aunt Martha laughed loudly, hugging Lina's mother as if nothing had ever happened, as if she hadn't been the cause of all this hell. Lina took a deep breath, feeling the cold metal bite into her palm. Tonight's dinner was supposed to be a reconciliation, but she hadn't come for forgiveness. She'd come for revenge, the kind that doesn't require blood but leaves scars that last a lifetime. It all began 2 years ago with an inheritance. Grandma Ellen had died quietly in her sleep at her home on the outskirts of Chicago, the very house where Lina had spent every childhood summer. It wasn't a mansion, but it was warm, old books, an iron staircase, a porch overlooking a garden Grandma had lovingly tended. To Lina, it was sacred. To the rest of the family, it was an asset. The will was simple, everything to Lina. For your loyalty, your care, for staying when others were too busy, the handwritten note read. At first, Lina's mother, Carolyn, smiled through her tears. But within a week, Aunt Martha, Carolyn's younger sister, showed up with her husband and son, claiming they'd just come to help sort through things. By the next day, Martha declared that Grandma had told her personally the house should stay in the family. She had a stroke a year before she died, Lina said. She could barely speak. And you didn't even visit her that year. Not your business, girl, Martha replied, peering over her glasses. Adult life is learning not to stick your nose where you weren't asked. Lina stayed silent then. She didn't want to fight at the funeral. But from that moment on, everything unraveled. First, Martha began casually telling others that Lina never held a real job, that all she knew how to do was cling, that Grandma just felt sorry for her. Then came calls to Lina's friends with questions. Are you sure she didn't pressure Grandma into changing the will? Martha even wrote Carolyn a long letter accusing Lina of manipulation and emotional blackmail. Carolyn, whose life had always revolved around keeping the peace, took the easiest path. She stopped answering her daughter's calls. And when Lina finally confronted her, her mother said, "Maybe you should just give up the house? Just to make it all go away." "You're serious?" Lina couldn't believe it. "You want me to hand over the only thing left of Grandma to the woman who didn't even show up to her funeral?" "She regrets it, Lina." She said her car broke down. Her car? Really? She had a private jet, Mom. She flew to Miami every spring. But Carolyn only looked away. And in that silence, Lina read it all. Betrayal, indifference, the acceptance of lies as truth. Months passed in icy silence. Lina lived in Grandma's house, restoring furniture, tending the garden, trying to preserve memory. But inside her, something else grew, cold, precise fury. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She simply watched. And waited. Then came the invitation. Family dinner. Sunday. 6 p.m. Martha's house. No grudges. Only love. Signed by Carolyn on behalf of everyone. Lina almost deleted the message. But at the last second, she changed her mind. Because she realized this was her chance. Not to reconcile, but to show them who she really was. And what it meant to touch what belonged to her. Now, standing in the kitchen of a stranger's house, Martha had moved into a mansion on the city's north side, funded by God knows what. Lina watched as guests took their seats at the table. A long, dark wood dining table, set like something from a magazine, candles, crystal, linen napkins. Everything screamed, "We are the real family. You're just a guest." Carolyn approached and hugged her gently, like fragile porcelain. "Thank you for coming," she whispered. "It means so much to Masha." Masha. That's what she called her sister now. And Lina? Just hers. "I'm glad, Mom," Lina replied, smiling. Truly glad. She knew what would follow. And she'd already prepared everything. Dinner began with a light salad. Then came seafood, the favorite dish of Uncle Ron, Martha's husband. He loudly praised the chef, unaware that Lina had helped in the kitchen herself. That she'd specifically insisted on adding a special seasoning to the shrimp sauce, the very one Ron had been allergic to since childhood. Martha knew. Carolyn knew. But no one told Lina. As wine was poured, Ron began to itch. Within 5 minutes, his face turned red. He stood up, coughing. "Something's wrong," he rasped. Martha rushed to him. Carolyn dialed 911. Guests panicked. And Lina calmly sipped her water, watching the chaos unfold. Must have been bad shrimp, she said with genuine concern. Such a shame. I picked them myself at the market. No one suspected a thing. Because she was the poor, wronged niece, not someone capable of calculation. By the time the ambulance took Ron away, the allergy was severe but not fatal. Lina had measured the dose carefully. The dinner had collapsed. Guests left. Only family remained. Martha looked shattered. Carolyn looked guilty. And Lina remained perfectly calm. You're happy, aren't you? Martha suddenly asked, staring her straight in the eyes. Happy about what? That everything went to hell. That's what you wanted. Lina slowly set her glass down. You're right. I did want this. But not because I enjoy suffering. Because you left me no choice. She pulled a folder from her bag. You know, Aunt Martha, I hired a private investigator. Not to spy, but to find out where you got the money for this house. Turns out, you sold Grandma's condo in Phoenix, the one she left to charity. You forged documents. And no one noticed, except me. Martha paled. That's a lie. No. These are copies of bank statements, contracts, and witness affidavits. I've already sent everything to the IRS and the police. The investigation has begun. Carolyn looked from her daughter to her sister, speechless. You can't, Martha whispered. I can. And I will. But I have a proposal. Lina turned to her mother. Mom, all this time you believed her, not me. You chose the lie because it was easier. But Grandma chose me because I didn't abandon her. She faced Martha again. I'll withdraw my complaint. But on one condition, you publicly admit the will was authentic. That you tried to steal the house. And that you apologize to me and to Grandma. A heavy silence filled the air. Or I'll destroy you, Lina added. Not quickly. Not brutally. But completely. You'll lose your home, your money, your reputation. And your son, because he'll learn exactly what your comfort was built on. Martha sank into a chair, as if all strength had left her at once. You've become a monster, she whispered. No, Lina said. I became what you made me. The next day, Martha posted a message in the family group chat, short, emotionless. Just facts. Confession. Apology. Carolyn cried reading it. She called Lina, begging forgiveness, saying she'd been blind. Lina didn't forgive her right away. She couldn't. But she said, I don't want to be your martyr daughter. I want to be your daughter, no conditions. They started over. Slowly. Carefully. And Grandma Ellen's house remained with Lina. She turned it into a small ceramic studio, teaching children how to shape clay. Sometimes Carolyn came by, bringing an old pie recipe, planting roses where Grandma used to sip her tea. Martha never showed up again. Rumor had it she'd moved to the other coast. Her son changed his last name. And every evening, Lina lit a candle on the porch, not in memory of revenge, but in honor of justice. Quiet, calm, and inevitable.